So, I don't know how many managers here. I know one, obviously. So, no one. Okay. So, I sort of geared this towards more management, manager types. But hopefully it'll be helpful or interesting, at least to folks that are in engineering, on the engineering side of things. So when I was working on this, well, first, Bazaarvoice, most of you guys, I think there's a lot of folks that know me already. So some of this may be new, and I'll try and, for the folks that don't know me, I'll try and go through it so that you're aware that I know you don't know it. So in terms of Bazaarvoice, I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, just because I think it gives a foundation for why we do some of the things that we do. And then I'll give some background about myself. When I was working on this presentation, sort of rushed the title. It's like, oh, by the way, this is due tonight, and didn't think we needed to actually submit it since we were one of the platinum sponsors. So Michael and I rushed to put our titles together and descriptions in that. As I put this together, I realized it's not a very good title for what I want to talk about. A better title would be a humane approach to growing, attracting, growing, and retaining talent. It's humane is sort of a key word here, and if you know anything about Kanban and Lean, there's a bit of a pun with the humane piece there. So who am I? This is my background. I'm a computer science undergrad student who I started programming when I was 13 or 14 in BASIC, and I loved it. It was great. I wasn't a great student, but I loved this, and I spent way too much time on computers doing things that were legal, so nothing illegal or anything like that. I got a master's in computer technology, which is a fancier, different name for a master's in computer science. It just wasn't called that. And then I got an MBA from Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama, which was really enjoyable because it was all techie folks that were actually in the class, so we could geek out as well. I have 10 years in the U.S. military. I bring this up because this is really a foundation for a lot of what I talk about. As an officer in the U.S. military, one of the things, and I'm sure it's very similar in the United Kingdom's military, in that you won't lie, cheat, or steal. That's what you believe in, that's what you are. And the cheat and steal, I think, are sort of, makes sense. The lying is something that it's the foundation to what I talk about. Like, don't lie, don't tell the truth, be authentic. I can be too authentic. I can be too honest. But I've been told by developers I've worked with in the past, one very specific developer, and she told me, Paul, you're just way too honest. You need to not tell us everything. Like, okay, so I have to learn how to be diplomatic sometimes. But with honesty, with truth, you always know where you stand. And I think that's really important. So that's the basis for kind of my ethos. And then this is where I grew up in, outside the military. I went to work for a company Green Mountain Energy in Burlington, Vermont, moved to Austin, Texas, and have been there until Belfast since then. Went to work for a product development company, and I will never look back. I love product development. It is so cool to be part of the generation of the income, impacting clients and consumers. And as a back office software engineer, that's not what I was doing. I was saving money. I was figuring out how to work on the billing system or how to work on the CRM, not how to generate more revenue for the company. M5 Systems was a startup that I was partner in that was for my first SaaS. And when I went back to shrink wrap software at this company called SolarWinds, which has nothing to do with solar or wind, it is a tools, IT tools, DevOps tools, it's all shrink wrapped, and realize that that's boring. Get me back into SaaS, because it's very, very fast paced, dealing with production issues or getting releases done, high quality. So that got me back. When coming to Bazaarvoice was great. Lots of lessons learned, both what to do, what not to do in terms of leadership, and that made me who I am today and brought me to Belfast. So who we are as a company. So this is our vision. We are building the world's smartest network of consumers, brands, and retailers. We are the world's largest shopper network, data network. If you don't know who we are, about 98% chance you've used our software. If you ever shop on Argos, if you ever go to Sainsbury's website and buy your groceries online, Tesco, Marks and Spencer, House of Fraser, the list goes on. We're there, and you're using our software. And that ends up having some pretty cool implications in terms of the size of our data set and the volume of our traffic. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So this is one of my favorite spaces in Austin. We're in the process of recreating that the best we can here in Belfast, and we'll be opening a new office in October timeframe. But I think that's there, which is, can't really read, is the most important part about this room, because that's our values. And the one I'll point out here is authenticity. We have an authenticity badge. That as a retailer, if you follow our protocols, our rules around getting your reviews validated and ensuring that they're not fraudulent, they're not created by robots, then you can have that badge. But that authenticity just permeates the engineering culture, the culture of the company, and fits really well with the guy that is a little too honest sometimes. Right? Authenticity is pretty much all I'm about. What I say is what I mean. I do what I say, all those kinds of things. And it's just me saying that, but there's people that work for me. Feel free to talk to them and ask them. Why did technology, so now let's get into the recruiting, hiring, interviewing, all that. So why did technology professionals come to work for Bazaarvoice? This is what I'm told. This is also how I feel. We have over 850 million reviews that can be displayed. Okay? We add 1 million every 6 days to that. So last year we did we added 70 million reviews to that. Other ratings and reviews companies brag about having 1 million reviews. We did that last week. That's pretty amazing. We have 1 billion active shoppers. 240 million of them we've been able to confirm are unique. Okay? Just for a frame of reference, Google has documented that they have 248 million unique users. Okay? So the next one below that's like 210, I think, or something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a little bit below that. So when I think Michael at his talk said we're number 2 in terms of a lot of different characteristics, traffic, unique users, that's what we're talking about. We're not even talking about the billion, because some of those we can't verify. 1 billion, what is that number? It's another billion, big B. Friday of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, those 2 days, we do over 1 billion page views. That creates an amazingly large set of problems at scale that it gives me chills. It's really awesome. And we're impacting all these consumers. We're helping them make buying decisions. We're not tricking them. We're not trying to get them to click on fake hairs on phones or, dirt spots or things like that. We're trying to get them to provide them information they need to make a decision on a purchase. So those I think I'm a technical person. I really like code. I try to do coding challenges very regularly. I was doing them once a day, and then I got busy and did vacation, and now it's like maybe every other day or once a week, but it's fun. I enjoy it. I get in trouble at home because I'm not working, I'm writing code that has nothing to do with what Bazaarvoice does. But so I try to look at myself and what am I looking for, and I want to be treated humanely. Again, I want to have opportunities to grow. I want to be challenged on a daily basis. I want to be interested in showing up at work and having fun and not feeling like, what time is it? Can I get out of here? Can I go home now? And when I talk about myself feeling that way, wanting to be that way, our entire engineering leadership is the same way. We built an engineering leadership with a culture and a view to authenticity and a humane approach to hiring, recruiting, and developing software engineers. We're very different, or I say we're different. We're different for Belfast in terms of our interviewing process, our recruiting process. Well, maybe not recruiting, that's probably about the same, but our interviewing process, it's different. It's different than Belfast. It's not so different than most places in the US. I can say I've worked for 5 companies, five or six companies since I got out of the military. Every one of my interviews has been, or in terms of recruiting and interviewing experiences, has been multiple days and multiple interviews during those days, including telephone screens, technical challenges, both on the phone and in person. We're not doing anything different than any FDI that's moving into Belfast, or I would say most FDIs moving into Belfast. That's not what I've heard it's like when you interview for companies that have been based out of Belfast, started out of Belfast and that, or restarted. We did adjust some of our interview processes to be more accommodating, but it was very much a shock to me to find out that people wouldn't take a day off to interview. It's like, well, that's just norm. I mean, that's what I'm used to. It's like, so I have to convince people, our recruiter has to convince people, Pauline, all of us have to convince people that it's worth the time to do. And it is. I've not had any complaints from people that have completed the interview and gotten hired or not gotten hired. Both, in fact, one of the most positive feedback I got was from a person who we did turn down, and he said that was the best interviewing experience he've ever had. And his was really long, because he was DevOps, so we were trying to coordinate everything with people in Austin to get DevOps engineers on the phone, and I was out of office, and it was just like, okay, really long. We don't like to do that. We like to have our interview process take 2 days, 1 day to do the interview and 1 day to do the roundtable, and then give them feedback. So we are different. Why? We're trying to figure out what motivates this person. What motivates them so that this, oh, by the way, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if everyone's familiar with that. I should probably start with that. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, from an engineering perspective, from an engineer's perspective, what is it that motivates you? That's what we want to find out, and we want to find out if we have that for you, and if not, then we probably need to go a different direction, right? But we want to try. So this is, we have a program that introduces all engineers to our philosophy, our technologies, our architecture, and the philosophy and the belief in providing motivational things for engineers to do that impact the customer positively. It's embedded throughout the organization. As I said, we're trying to look for the right fit for every person that comes in. Well, one, we're not going to ask you in unless we think you're a fit. It's a waste of time for you to come to visit us if that doesn't potentially exist. So that's why we take the approach we take to interviewing and recruiting candidates. What's common amongst these folks? Well, aside from the fact that we all have a relatively similar size in terms of data, traffic, and unique users, all of these companies use a very similar approach to interviewing. 1 to 2 telephone screens, one of them being technical. 4 to 6 in-person technical interviews, right? It's coding. I've heard this word competency-based. I was thinking this is a behavioral interview. Like, well, I looked it up last night. No, it's not a behavioral interview. It's the candidate telling us how they can do this job. It's like, prove it to us. That's what we're here. That's what we want to talk about, because we want you to succeed. We want you to succeed. We want to succeed. That doesn't work if you don't have the requisite skills, and you don't have the culture fit, and we don't have a fit for you. It's a two-way street. It's a relationship. It's not, a developer, any employee can leave at any time. And that is very common in the United States, right? You can leave at any time. You get 2 weeks notice, you're out here. And that's not even required. That's just, if you're being professional, you give 2 weeks notice. You can come in tomorrow and walk out the door and say, I'm done. Here's my stuff. And so being aware of that, it's like, I don't want to lose good employees. And I have to be aware of the fact that they need challenges. They need to do what they're interested in doing. And how do we do that? And how do we set them up for success? So sometimes we make decisions like, hey, you don't meet this level. A senior software engineer at Bazaarvoice is an architect. They must design solutions that handle this kind of traffic, write code, quality code, and deliver it. It's like, if you can't do that, you're not a senior software engineer at Bazaarvoice. That might be a harsh statement when we're interviewing principals, and principals that would be the equivalent of our staff. Architects, senior architects. Like, I need this full application to handle hundreds of millions of page views. If it can't do that, and you can't design a solution to do that, then we wouldn't consider you a senior software developer. Again, I said, a skills-based interview. So you're writing code. You write code. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't even have to be syntactically correct. But Googling how to write a for loop is probably not going to mean you're capable, right? At that point, right? It's something that the basic code writing capability is important. And then we'll see if we can find a fit for you from that point, right? So on the skills, interviewing is a skill, right? It's not something that you come out of the blue and do well at, not unless you just happen to be doing those things every single day. Most people aren't. In fact, most people we've talked to in Belfast have been at the company are at now for 10 years or so, and they haven't interviewed in 10 years. Some people have never interviewed. They went to placement, they went to job, they've been at that job the whole time, or they may have changed jobs, but they went to a company where the people knew them, so they just hired them, right? Well, you've got that. Looking at FDIs, yes, you might run into that once in a while, but for the most part, even these guys who refer them, they're really good friends with them. They're great developers. They go through the same process that everyone else goes through. They have to write code. They have to solve problems. Don't care what language, by the way. It really doesn't matter. If you can write code in any language, you can learn a new language, right? We use Java, we use Python, we use JavaScript. There's PHP out there. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's not C#. There's no VB.NET, those kinds of things. But there's a lot of there's a lot of the common languages that most of the other companies will be looking for. Questions. The reason I bring up questions, this is a bonus. If you ask a really good question, it's like that can change an iffy interview into absolute yes, hire this person, because they're so insightful. I just complimented someone that was promoted yesterday because he challenges me with his questions. It's like he's always asking these questions like, Oh, I don't know. I have to think about that one. You really ask great, insightful questions, and asking good questions shows your capacity for learning and wanting to learn and kind of go to that next level. So, failures. We have absolutely had our failures. And that's, I promise, in the right episode, I want to talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff, what we do, our failures. So there's been a number of miscommunications where people have shown up and said, I didn't know I was going to be writing code. Like, that's something that we have to really make sure is clear from day one, or from the first conversation. And the recruiter that I work with in Belfast, she sits right next to me, and I hear the conversations she has with candidates. And she's always really clear on, here's the process, here's what's going to happen, and coding is part of that as a developer, right? So that's something that has definitely bit us a couple times. It's when we were doing technical phone screens and we had WebEx problems and no coding happened, every single candidate that was in that situation failed to get through the interview process because they didn't write code. Yes, we started using HackerRank. The first person to try it out, this is the feedback I got. F this, you got it. And I was like, oh boy, are we doing the right thing here? Are we scaring people off? And we've definitely had our share of people that have refused to do this, either just not done it at all, or let us know that, hey, I like the friendly approach of being with a person and doing pair coding. Totally, yeah, that would be the best way to do it. That's the ideal way to do it, most friendly way to do it. We've done 170 code tests, exercises in the past less than 6 months. Okay, that's 33 days, 100% time, 8 hours a day. That's 33 days of someone sitting with a person trying to write code. So yes, we're trying to get to a point where, hey, do this on your own time, but do it on your own time. Show us the basics. We're looking for basics. We're not looking for the experts. We're looking for, do you know the basics? If you know the basics, we'll figure out how effective you are, how skilled you are in the actual interview. I've had, I think, 3 people show up at the interview, and one was, I think this whole technical screen thing, when we were still doing them in person or on the phone, it's a waste of time. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to prove it to you. Like, well, okay, well, that's not going to work out. Thank you for coming by. We appreciate it. But we've had people get through the HackerRank exercise, and one of them showed up, and my guess is he figured out the answers by Googling and cut and pasted, because he got through the first interview and he just left. That's too bad. I tried to talk to him. I was like, hey, listen, one bad interview does not mean a no. There's 3 more interviews. Let's talk through this and see what'll happen. So he walked out. And I think there's one other one, but I don't recall for sure. But when we have these, we want to look at what do we learn from the lessons? What happened? What can we do better? These are, if someone didn't do well in the interview, or the interview went well but they turn us down, I mean, we need to have those conversations to figure out what we did wrong and how we can improve. And we try to do that at the end of every roundtable. We have the roundtable, get the feedback, and then make I think this one's mine. We take the learnings and try to apply it to the next interview to make sure that we're continually improving, right? So in cases where, well, like, okay, I'm not going to change anything because that was the first person to use it, but let's pay attention and find out if this is a pattern, if this is a consistent thing, right? So so that's how we recruit tech going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I got 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna rush a bit here. I was afraid this might happen, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, it applies when we're trying to keep talent, right? It's like, what are they looking for? And we want to try to find the commonalities here. In this case, this is our hack event that we have twice a year. And in this case, this is they're presenting their demo, and all the people on their phones and computers are trying out the software that these guys came up with right now. And they were, I know, one of the top 3, and I've used their demo multiple times because of how cool I think it is, and it shows our big data capability. Embrace failures. We have what we call fellow engineers. Microsoft has these, Google has these. These are the top engineers. I know for sure one of those has taken production down at least 5 times in the time that I've been at Bazaarvoice. And he was much more junior when I started, and he is now a fellow. And just had a guy promoted yesterday, or the beginning of this month, and I know he's taken down. He's had he's had one very bad production issue that took weeks to recover from. But he's still here, he's still promoted, he's learned. I guarantee he'll never forget, right? Retaining your best employees, I think I talked about that. When we can't find the right match, the person can't find the right challenge, we can't find the right challenge for them, then sometimes the decision is it's better for them to go someplace else. This is not a bad thing. If we can't challenge someone, then they need to figure out what they want to do. My manager left back in August, and yes, I was very sad. He was a very good manager, what I call super boss. And he left because between him and the EVP of engineering, he had no better opportunities. He had no more room to grow at Bazaarvoice. So they made the decision the best thing for him to do was take the opportunity that he had heading up engineering for a global organization. And he's doing great. I talk to him at least monthly. So yesterday, I was talking to someone and was talking about this topic, and he tells me, you're an alien on Earth in this situation in Belfast. You're different. All I have to go on is what people tell me, and they're saying my approach to leadership is very different than most managers in Belfast. Don't know, never worked for them, but I know what I've been told, and so I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I think it's right, and I get really good feedback on it. And some of these are the things that are what I espouse. So there's 2 words I really don't like when applied to human beings. 1, manage. You don't manage people. You manage things, you manage tasks, you manage projects. You lead people. I don't mean to offend anyone, but as a military leader, people do not die because they're told to. They do not take hills because they're told to. They do it because they believe in what they're doing. They do it because they believe in the person that they're there for. So I don't manage. I try to lead. The second one is I hate this word resource when applied to people. You are not a resource. You are a human. You are a person. I'm a person. I do not want to be managed like a piece of machinery. That's not what I believe in. Number 1 tool. If you're not a manager, which most of you are not, if you do not have a regular one-on-one with your manager, set one up weekly. They are the absolute best tool that you can have. If nothing else, you do nothing else, one-on-ones will build trust, build a relationship. You will get to know someone. They will get to know you. What are you interested? What are you motivated about? What's going to motivate you? You can get feedback on how to get better, coaching, career discussion, all of those things with one-on-ones. And these are regular things, not something that, I'm upset, I need to have a one-on-one, okay? Just wrapping up, these are the last 2 slides. Managertools.com. We've got the guy that started the company. He's coming Monday to train our entire organization in Belfast on how to improve our communication. And these guys, they believe in everything I believe in. They teach the things that I've taught. I was so glad to find them because it makes it so much easier for me to help coach managers. Go listen to their blogs, or go listen to their podcasts, go read their blogs. Some amazing stuff, great stuff. These are the books. I've got a whole tons of them I've read, but these are great. These are really good ones that are good starters, easy reads. Talent Magnet I picked up on Monday before I flew back to Belfast. It was an hour and a half-ish read, really great read for anybody that's interested in getting to management. And these other ones are, if you're development, cracking the code, it's exercises, and these are exercise websites. And Google is your friend. Behavioral interviews, how to interview, coding interviews, etc. It's a great asset. We let you use Google, by the way, when you're interviewing. That's okay. If you Google really well, then you can help figure out, you can get answers faster. It's like just copying and pasting code all the time is not, you're not a developer necessarily if that's the only way you solve problems. Okay. Sorry, I rushed there, and I did want to offer time for questions. I'll be around for a bit. I know there's another presentation, but happy to answer any questions in what brief time we have remaining.
We can take a couple of questions now. Anybody has any?
Yeah. So, trying to word this correctly. So you've had to make like some acquaintances for Belfast versus the US. So is there anything for the interview process? So is there anything you wish that was more, that you could bring to Belfast that would be more suitable that you could bring from the US?
No, I want to take what we're doing in Belfast back to the US. I think we're more efficient in what we're doing. We get the same number of views in a shorter amount of time, which is a better experience for the candidate. So no, I think we actually have learned from things in Austin and do them better here. Was that a trick question, or did you just want to ask me that?
I was just thinking about it.
Okay. I will say also, just throw it out there since we have a second. We have a talent calibration every 6 months, and I of course have a sort of slanted view in it, but Pauline attended, and one of the things that she had told me that she really liked was the fact that the bar that we have in Austin, our folks here meet or exceed that same bar. So there's no differentiation. We get the feedback on target, and it's that same. The same with the significant and top performers. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.